Let's add some padding around our text elements. Let's go back to the container up here. And right underneath margin, we'll add padding, edge insets, .all 20.0. Now we're ready to create the bars down here. So the way we're going to create these bars is by using a stack, and that stack is going to consist of two containers. One container will have a color that is green, orange, or red, depending on how much money we have left, and then the other container will be a light gray color. So let's go underneath our row widget here, and make sure you're still inside the column widget. We're going to add a size box of height 10.0. And then we want to create a stack. So our stack will have children. And just like we talked about, we will have a container. And we'll set the height to 20.0. And then add a box decoration. So decoration, box decoration, color, colors.gray 200, comma, border radius dot circular 15.0. And hit save. And now we have our first container. In order to show another container on top of the light container, we need to put our new container after the container we just created. So now we'll make container, height 20.0, decoration, and let's just copy this and paste it in here. And then we'll change the color to colors.red for now. And hit save. And now we see that all of our bars are filled with the color red. However, if we were to edit the width of our second bar, so the bar that's on top of our gray bar, and make it 50.0, then we see that the width of the red bar reduces to reveal the gray bar underneath it. Now the question we have to ask ourselves is, how do we make this bar the correct length, depending on how big the container is? Because our container may be different sizes based on how big the screen is. So we have to figure out how to get the width of this first bar. And the way we can do that is by using a widget called a layout builder. And that's what we're going to wrap our stack in. So let's hit command period, wrap our stack in a new widget, layout builder. And this layout builder has a builder with build context, box constraints, and then we need to put a curly brace here. So we're going to remove the child here, change that to return, and then I'm going to highlight the whole entire stack, and then hold down Option and click up, and then change the last comma here to a semicolon, and reformat. And now that we have our constraints, we can see what does constraints print out. So do print constraints dot max height and print constraints dot max width, and hit save. And now we see that our height is infinity because we never specified a height, and then the max width, however, is 334 because that's the max width our container can be inside of our category container. So using these values, let's calculate our bar width. First, let's make a variable called final double max bar width. And as we saw before, that'll just equal constraints dot max width. And then we need to calculate the percent of our remaining money. So final double percent. And we'll calculate this by doing category dot max amount minus the total amount of money we've already spent divided by the category dot max amount. So it's the same exact thing we did here to get the remaining amount of money and the max amount, but we're just dividing it to get the percentage now. And then we calculate our bar width by doing double bar width equals the percent times the max bar width. So our bar width will never be greater than our max bar width because our percent is between 0 and 1, and then we're multiplying it by max bar width. And then the last check we have to do is if bar width is less than 0, then we just set our bar width to 0. And we have to check for this because there's a chance that our category.max amount minus total amount spent is negative, which in that case would make our bar width negative. If we used absolute value around category.max amount minus total amount spent, that wouldn't work because let's say that this became a negative value, and then we did the absolute value. There's a chance that it could be even greater than our category.max amount, which would mean that this percentage would be greater than 1. And if the percentage is greater than 1, then our max bar width would be filled all the way instead of being empty, which is how it should be. So that's why we have to do this check to see if the bar width is less than 0, and then manually set it to 0 if it is. Now that we have the bar width, we can change the width right here of our red container to bar width. And when we hit save, we see that all of our bars represent the correct proportion, and the data is displayed accordingly. All that's left to finish off the remaining money bars is to change the color based on how much money is left. So we're going to write a function called getColor, and that's going to take in a build context, so pass in context, and a percent. And the percent is the percent we just calculated up here. The reason we need to pass in context is so that we can access our primary color. To organize our code, we're going to create a new folder under our lib directory called helpers. The file we're going to make will be called color_helper.dart. And then we need to write the function that's going to return a color. So color, and make sure to import material.dart, getColor, build context, double percent. And then we need to check the percentage to assign the correct color. So if the percent is greater than or equal to 0.50, then we want to return theme.ofContext.primaryColor, which in this case is green. Else if the percent is greater than or equal to 0.25, then we want to return colors.orange. Otherwise, if the percentage is less than 0.25, then we just want to return colors.red. And now if we save this, you can go back to home screen, save this screen, and remember to import getColor by importing the color helper.dart. Hit save, and now we see that our remaining money bars all changed to the correct colors. Hot restart the app, and we see that the bars changed again.